ago, it felt like an uphill climb. Well, today, momentum is finally on our side. We have strong bipartisan support. We have new industry partners, including members of the oil and refining sector, who are at the table. And this is a key piece of Republicans' plan to lower energy costs, to strengthen American production, and to give consumers more choices at the pump. Trade, well, that's the other half of the equation. Former President Biden's lack of a clear trade agenda left America with a $49 billion trade deficit, undercutting farmers in Nebraska and all across this country. President Trump, you can help reverse that deficit by holding China accountable and ensuring American-grown soybeans have access to global markets, a lifeline for farmers facing losses this harvest season. President Trump has already made progress on this trade front. Take beef. Australia has sold nearly $29 billion worth of beef to U.S. consumers, while American ranchers have been locked out of their market. Do you know how much beef, American beef, Australia bought? Zero. Now we need the same kind of breakthrough by opening up a market for soybeans and corn and every other American crop. At the end of the day, farmers and ranchers want programs that work, and we want markets to sell our products. Madam President, simply put, we just want a fair shot. By securing strong trade deals and building new markets through year-round E15, we can revitalize the farm economy. We can bolster United States energy security, and we can ensure that America's producers can keep feeding and fueling this nation for generations to come. Thank you, Madam President. Yield the floor.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent that the Senate resume legislative session and be in a period of morning business with senators permitted to speak therein for up to 10 minutes each.
Without objection.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent that the Committee on Judiciary be discharged from further consideration. The Senate now proceed to SRS 406.
The clerk will report.
SRS 406, designating September 30, 2025 as Impact Aid Recognition Day and so forth.
Without objection, the committee is discharged, and the Senate will proceed.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent that the resolution be agreed to, the preamble be agreed to, and that the motion to reconsider be considered and made laid upon the table.
Without objection.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent that the Committee on Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions be discharged from further consideration. The Senate now proceed to SRS 422.
The clerk will report.
SRS 422, the seriousness of polycystic ovary syndrome and so forth.
Without objection, the committee is discharged, and the Senate will proceed.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent that the resolution be agreed to, the preamble of the following resolutions which are at the desk. SRS 432, SRS 433, SRS 434, SRS 435, SRS 436, and SRS 437.
Without objection, the Senate will proceed en bloc.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent the resolutions be agreed to, the preambles be agreed to, and the motion to reconsider be considered, made, and laid upon the table, all in bloc.
Without objection.
And I ask unanimous consent that when the Senate completes its business today, it stand adjourned until 10 a.m. on Tuesday, October the 7th, that following the prayer and pledge, the journal proceedings be approved today, the morning hour be deemed expired, the time for the two leaders be reserved for their use later in the day, morning business be closed, and Senate proceed to executive session and resume consideration in block nominations provided for under the provisions of SRS 412 post-closure. Further, that all time during recess, adjournment, leader remarks, and morning business count post-closure on the nominations. Finally, the Senate recess from 12:30 p.m. until 2:15 p.m. to allow for the weekly conference meetings.
Without objection.
Mr. President, if there's no further business to come before the Senate, I ask that it stand adjourned under the previous order.
The Senate stands adjourned until 10 a.m. tomorrow.
Name and
Mr. Chairman.
seek recognition. Senator Kennedy.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Russell sent a letter to the governor of Connecticut during the pandemic. Here's what she said, quote, "As they stand, prisons and jails are detrimental to public health and human rights and disproportionately harm marginalized communities, including Black, brown, indigenous, and other communities of color, immigrants, people with mental illness, people with disabilities, people in the LGBTQ plus community, people who use drugs, people engaged in sex work and street economies, and people experiencing houselessness and poverty." Then she went on to request the governor to immediately release everybody in jail in Connecticut. It's unclear to me whether she was talking about just during the pandemic or on a permanent basis. Then she goes on to tell the governor of Connecticut
learned of the attack. I'll never forget the story. The Israeli ambassador to China came and told me what had happened in Israel and talked about what happened at the kibbutz Be'eri, where Hamas gathered children, grandparents, mothers, babies into one community center and gunned them all down. It reminded me of the story of my grandmother in Chortkiv in western Ukraine in 1941, when the Nazis came to her home, asked her to gather her greater family on the porch. About 35 people gathered from ages 80 to 3 months. The Nazis said, "You're coming with us." She said, "We're not moving." They gunned them all down, machine gunned them all down. So the story at Be'eri was eerily reminiscent. After hearing of the attack, I cut my trip to China short, as important as it was, and got on a plane to Israel as soon as I could. I told the Israeli people during these troubled times that the American people were with them. What I saw in Israel in the aftermath of the attack shook me. Gathered children, leading a bipartisan delegation. Sad day. Today marks 2 years since Hamas's horrific, brutal terrorist attack on Israel. A day of inextinguishable grief. The single deadliest day for Jews since the Holocaust. No matter how much time passes, I will always remember October 7th as if it were yesterday. On October 7th, I was in Beijing, leading a bipartisan delegation in China, meeting with President Xi about opening up Chinese markets to U.S. companies when I first learned of the attack. I'll never forget the story. The Israeli ambassador to China came and told me what had happened in Israel and talked about what happened at the kibbutz Be'eri, where Hamas gathered children, grandparents, mothers, babies into one community center and gunned them all down. It reminded me of the story of my grandmother in Chortkiv in western Ukraine in 1941, when the Nazis came to her home, asked her to gather her greater family on the porch. About 35 people gathered from ages 80 to 3 months. The Nazis said, "You're coming with us." She said, "We're not moving." They gunned them all down, machine gunned them all down. So the story at Be'eri was eerily reminiscent. After hearing of the attack, I cut my trip to China short, as important as it was, and got on a plane to Israel as soon as I could. I told the Israeli people during these troubled times that the American people were with them. What I saw in Israel in the aftermath of the attack shook me to my core. I met with families whose loved ones were killed, injured, a woman telling us she was waving goodbye to her son, 12 years old, who was kidnapped and on a motorcycle with a Hamas thug. I will never forget those meetings. There wasn't a dry eye in the house. The world must never, never forget the horrors that Hamas inflicted on that day. The brutality and viciousness of Hamas's attacks, indiscriminate violence against innocent infants, young people at a concert, women, the elderly, sexual violence, taking hundreds of hostages, will remain ever present in my mind and the minds of the conscience of the world. Today we remember the victims of the October 7th attacks. May their memories be a blessing. And reaffirm our commitment to finally bring home all the hostages still held so cruelly by Hamas, the vicious organization that it is. 2 years later, 48 hostages remain in Hamas's captivity, including the remains of 2 New Yorkers, Omer Nutra and Itai Chen. Every day that these hostages remain in captivity, every day their families are denied full closure and burial of their loved ones, is a day too long. We remain committed to bringing the hostages home as soon as possible. At this crucial moment in negotiations, the Trump administration and all those at the table and the international community must do everything to finally secure a ceasefire hostage agreement, facing heartbreaking levels of hunger and devastation in Gaza. And finally, to build an enduring and lasting peace. It's imperative that all parties involved do everything possible to secure this desperately needed agreement. Now, on a different subject, the shutdown. Yesterday, for the fifth time, the Republican CR failed to secure enough votes to pass this chamber. After 5 failed votes, Republicans should understand they cannot go forward unless we come to a bipartisan agreement to address the health care crisis facing America. The shutdown has now lasted almost a week. The Trump-caused shutdown, and Republicans are still in the no negotiation, our way or the highway mode. And President Trump, meanwhile, is not taking this shutdown seriously. Listen to this. Instead of fixing health care, instead of reopening the government, Donald Trump seems more interested in sending money to other countries instead of focusing on the problems here at home. His administration is in negotiation right now to send a $20 billion bailout to Argentina, right in the middle of a government shutdown. You got to be kidding. Does the administration really want us to believe there's not enough money for air traffic controllers, not enough money to fix the ACA healthcare premiums, but there somehow is $20 billion available to bail out Argentina because Trump likes the government's leader there. Give me a break. It shows you that this administration and Republicans are not serious enough when it comes to people's health care and when it comes to ending their shutdown. So, the crisis will not end by sending $20 billion to Argentina. We need to get serious about fixing the problems here at home, starting with health care. And Democrats, our position has not changed. We want the same thing that an overwhelming majority of Americans want, which is to end this shutdown and halt the health care crisis that will send premiums spiking for tens of millions of people. 80% of Americans want to extend the ACA tax credits. 58% of Trump voters want to extend those credits. We need to end this shutdown and halt the health care crisis. And we can do both. It's not either or, as some Republicans seem to think. We've been wanting to talk to the president and Republicans, have serious negotiations with the president and Republicans for months. Finally, after months and months of asking Leader Thune and Speaker Johnson to sit down with Hakeem Jeffries and I, and asking the president to sit down with us, where he said yes, then he said no, finally, at the last minute, the president agreed to have one meeting right the night before money was running out. But it was not a productive discussion and nothing was agreed to. Now, yesterday, President Trump claimed that he is talking with Democrats on fixing health care. He now clearly knows that he has to show the American people at least some fig leaf of caring. So he said he's talking with Democrats on the health care issue. Only one problem. It's not true. I'm not sure what the president was talking about yesterday, but he certainly hasn't called my office or Leader Jeffries. Still, Jeffries and I happily welcome a chance to talk with the president and with Republicans, to sit down and seriously negotiate with them so we can address the health care crisis facing Americans. The sooner, the better. But it takes two sides to negotiate. And Republicans, particularly Speaker Johnson, who seems to be the nub of the crisis, Republicans still haven't come to the table in a serious way. Speaker Johnson, perhaps more than anyone else, has dug in and shut the door on any cooperation. Johnson has become a massive roadblock to progress. Yesterday, he even said, quote, "There's nothing to negotiate." And he sent the House home for yet another week. The House hasn't held a vote now for 18 days. They haven't been in session for 2 weeks. That proves beyond a doubt that Speaker Johnson is causing and not interested in ending the shutdown. Clearly, at this point, he is the main obstacle. So ending this shutdown will require Donald Trump to step in and push Speaker Johnson to negotiate. Because without the president's involvement, Speaker Johnson and MAGA Republicans in the House are increasingly dug in. Johnson has pushed this partisan, one-sided CR and told us to take it or leave it. I heard my friend, Leader Thune, say it's a bipartisan bill. There hasn't been one drop of Democratic input. You can't call that a bipartisan bill. It's a partisan bill. Anyway, Johnson pushed this partisan, one-sided CR and said, take it or leave it. I'm going home. He shut the House down now, the House of Representatives, for 3 weeks, and he has said he won't bring the House back until the Senate Democrats cave to his demands. He also continues to outright lie about Democrats trying to give undocumented immigrants health insurance through ACA or Medicaid or Medicaid. That was a lie yesterday, it's a lie today, it'll be a lie tomorrow. He knows that, and yet he's still saying it to distract from the real issue. He doesn't want to solve the crisis of health care premiums, so he makes up these lies and he hopes it will divert people's attention. It's not diverting our attention, Speaker Johnson. We know you're lying, and we're paying attention to what the American people need. Every action the Speaker has taken has been geared towards avoiding having to confront the core issue at hand, which is to fix people's health care. So why is he doing this? Well, in part, he doesn't want to come back. He cares more about protecting the Epstein files than protecting the American people from the health care crisis. But also, he has a very big problem. His problem is that House Republicans, his own caucus, are bitterly divided on health care. On one hand, a large number within his conference will never agree to any extension of the ACA premium tax credits. They're against it. But there's also a growing number of House Republicans who realize something needs to be done to fix this mess. Listen to this. Marjorie Taylor Greene, one of the hardest right MAGA loyalists, broke with the Speaker and said we need to fix these ACA tax credits. Let me read what she said. This is not Chuck Schumer. This is Marjorie Taylor Greene. I am going to go against everyone on this issue because when the tax credits expire this year, my own adult children's insurance premium for 2026 are going to double, along with all the wonderful families and hardworking people in my district. So hold on to your hats. I think this is the first time I said this, but on this issue, Representative Greene said it perfectly. Representative Greene is absolutely right. Republicans can't sit by and do nothing while American families pay thousands more out of pocket for health care. If the Speaker doesn't relent and these credits expire, people will go bankrupt. People will get sick. Some will die. Inaction would be reprehensible, and the Speaker needs to realize that. And that's why, when push comes to shove, Donald Trump needs to step in and get Speaker Johnson and Republicans in Congress to come to the table and engage in real negotiations to address this issue. Democrats stand ready and willing to negotiate. We urge Donald Trump and congressional Republicans to do the same. I yield the floor. Absence of quorum.
Clerk will call the roll.
Ms. Alsobrooks.
President, we are now in day 7 of the Schumer shutdown. 7 days of wasted time and growing hardship on the American people. There's a new Harvard-Harris poll that had just come out, and it makes it loud and clear. And what's loud and clear is that 7 in 10 voters in America oppose the government shutdown. Americans overwhelmingly say Democrats should accept a continuing resolution at the current levels of funding until the actual spending bills are passed. And it's interesting, Mr. President, because 13 times in the Biden administration, the Democrats did exactly that. And it's the thing they're refusing to do right now. Americans don't want their government closed. They want it open. They want it to work for them. They want a nation that is safe and secure and prosperous. And they're sick and tired of Democrats holding them hostage with partisan and unreasonable demands. What do the Democrats want? What did their demand letter say? It said they want free health care for illegal immigrants. This is opposed by an overwhelmingly large number of Americans. The Democrats shut down the government, and they think they're hurting President Trump. In fact, the Schumer shutdown is hurting people all across America. Across this country, Americans are feeling the pain. There's headlines that tell the story, and I have a few here, Mr. President. One in New York says, quote, "Government shutdowns threatens food access for Long Island's most vulnerable." Another in Nevada says, quote, "Government shutdown threatens food stamps, jobs, national security." In New Jersey, one reads, "Hospital at home, telehealth programs are on hold amid government shutdown." And in New Hampshire, quote, "At least 1,800 New Hampshire federal workers to be furloughed or fired during shutdown." They're not statistics. These are families, these are our troops, these are seniors, these are veterans, these are mothers with young children, working families, patients, all across the country. And the stresses upon American families are mounting during the end result of the Schumer shutdown. Paychecks for our service members, well, they run out in days. Reports already show there are signs of financial distress. Every day this shutdown continues, the damage drags on. Financial stress will lead to financial crises for many families. Temporary hardships will lead to lasting harm. The American people don't want it, they can't afford it, they want it to end. Democrats have now voted 5 specific times to keep the government closed. And all you need to do is read their ransom note. Democrats demanding taxpayer-funded health care for illegal immigrants. And who do they want to hurt in the process? They want to cut the funding for rural hospitals in my state and yours. That's how they want to pay for the health care for illegal immigrants. That's their price to reopen the government, to get back to the normal workings of Washington and our government. And as a result, the Democrats are holding the American people hostage. There's a simple solution to the shutdown. The House passed a clean continuing resolution, current spending levels, bipartisan support to fund the government through November 21st. Why November 21st? Well, I just heard the minority leader say that there's been no discussions between Republicans or Democrats on the continuing resolutions. Well, in fact, there has been, and it's the deadline date of November 21st. Because the chair and the ranking member of the Senate Appropriations Committee and the House Appropriations Committee all said they needed 7 weeks to finish the bipartisan work on the appropriations bills. So yeah, Senator Collins, Senator Murray, they worked together on the clean continuing resolution. It's interesting because what we see are the Democrats fearing the wrath of their far left wing of their party. That's why they're not voting to open the government. The clock continues to tick. Every day Democrats hold out is another day wasted. Another day we ought to be making sure that the government is open. I hear that the Democrats say they want to negotiate. Well, open the government, we're ready to negotiate. Every day Democrats choose to keep the government closed is another day spent ignoring and rejecting the priorities of the American people. If Democrats actually want to negotiate, they would reopen the government today. It is that simple. So today, Mr. President, we're going to vote for the 6th time on a clean, continuing resolution, something Democrats approved 13 times when Joe Biden was president. Senate Democrats have a choice. Vote yes to end the Schumer shutdown, or vote no and tell the American people why their pain and their opinion just doesn't matter to the Democrats. Let me end where I begin. 7 in 10 Americans oppose this shutdown. Americans overwhelmingly say Democrats should accept the clean continuing resolution that we are voting on here today. American people have spoken. They want their government open, and they want it open now. It's time that the Democrats listened to them. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the floor. Suggest the absence of a quorum.
Clerk will call the roll.
Ms. Alston Brooks.